The coffee in Commander Tay's cup had gone cold an hour ago. He stared at it, wondering if he should get a fresh one, but decided against it. Walking to the mess hall and back would eat up 10 minutes of his shift. And he took his duties seriously, even when nothing ever happened. The CSS Vigilant was the loneliest posting in the Terran fleet. The small monitoring station floated at the edge of human territory, watching empty space for threats that never came. Tay had been here for 18 months with his crew of 12. 18 months of watching sensors, reading reports, and waiting for something interesting to happen. Commander, I'm getting something strange on the long-range sensors. Tay looked up at Yuna, the junior sensor operator. She was young, barely 23, and this was her first assignment after training. She had been excited when she arrived 6 months ago. Now she understood what veterans meant when they said space duty was boring. What kind of strange? Tay asked, getting up from his chair. Warp signatures. Multiple contacts. Yuna's fingers danced across her console. Wait, the count is going up. 10 ships, 20, 30. Tay felt his heart start beating faster. He moved quickly to her station and looked at the display. Red dots were appearing on the screen, each one representing a ship dropping out of faster-than-light travel. The computer was counting them automatically. 50 contacts. 70. Commander, they keep coming. The station-wide alarm blared through the corridors. Tay had triggered it without thinking. His crew rushed to their stations, their faces showing confusion that quickly turned to fear when they saw the displays. 100 ships, Yuna said. Her voice was steady, but Tay could hear the tremor underneath. 200. 500. Tay watched the numbers climb. A cold feeling settled in his stomach. This was not a patrol. This was not a merchant convoy. This was something much worse. 1,000 contacts, someone whispered. The red dots kept blooming across the display like flowers opening in a field. Each dot was a ship. Each ship was a threat. The numbers climbed higher and higher until finally. Mercifully, they stopped. 15,000. 347 ships. The bridge was silent except for the soft beeping of computers and the hum of life support. Everyone stared at the display, trying to process what they were seeing. Get me detailed scans, Tay ordered. His voice came out calm, which surprised him. I want classifications, weapon signatures, everything you can get. His crew worked without speaking. They were scared, but they were professionals. They knew what to do. The scan results started coming through. Tay read them and felt his blood turn to ice. Dreadnoughts, battleships, carriers, destroyers, troop transports, supply vessels. This was not a raiding party. This was an invasion fleet. Calculate their heading, Tay said to Yuna. She worked for a moment, then looked up at him. There were tears in her eyes. New Sol colony, sir. They're heading straight for New Sol. My family lives there. My parents, my 2 brothers. Tay put his hand on her shoulder. Then we make sure they get warned. That's why we're here. He moved to the communications station. The nearest human base was 6 light hours away. His warning message would take 6 hours to reach them, traveling at the speed of light. The hegemony fleet would be deep in human space by then. But 6 hours was better than no warning at all. Record emergency transmission, Tay said. Priority Alpha. This is Commander Tay, CSS Vigilant. We have detected a massive hegemony fleet entering human space. Count is over 15,000 warships. Course is set for New Sol colony and the inner systems. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. He attached all the scan data they had collected. Ship types, weapon signatures, formation patterns, estimated speeds. Everything that might help the fleet prepare for what was coming. Transmit on all frequencies, Tay ordered. Continuous broadcast. The message launched into space, racing toward home at light speed. It would arrive in 6 hours. That was all they could do. Double quote, sir. What do we do now? Asked one of his crew members. Tay looked around at the young faces. They all knew the answer. The Vigilant had sensors and communications, but no weapons. No shields strong enough to matter. No engines fast enough to run. When the hegemony found them, they would die. We keep watching, Tay said. We keep scanning. Every piece of information we can send helps our people prepare. The more they know about this fleet, the better chance they have. We're going to die here, someone said quietly. Yes, Tay agreed. He saw no point in lying. We're going to die. But we're going to die doing something important. Every minute we watch this fleet, we buy time for billions of people. For our families. For everyone we love. He saw understanding on their faces. The fear was still there, but now there was something else too. Purpose. They would die in this empty corner of space, but their deaths would mean something. The hours crawled by. The hegemony fleet grew closer. The crew of the Vigilant worked without stopping, gathering every scrap of data they could. They analyzed formation patterns. They identified the flagship vessels. They estimated weapons ranges and shield capacities. Every detail was packaged and transmitted toward human space. Una worked harder than anyone. Tay knew she was thinking about her family on New Sol. Her mother was a teacher. Her father worked in agriculture. Her brothers were still in school. When the hegemony arrived at their world, what would happen to them? Would they have time to evacuate? Would the warning arrive in time? Sir, the fleet is adjusting formation. Una reported. Tay studied the display. The massive fleet was spreading out, organizing into attack groups. They were preparing for battle. They expected resistance. They think we'll fight them at the colonies, one crew member observed. We will fight them, Tay said. Just not where they expect. The lead ships of the hegemony fleet were now less than 2 hours from the Vigilant's position. Tay could see individual vessels on the sensors now. They were huge, bristling with weapons, built for conquest. The Vigilant was a metal sphere with sensors and hope. There would be no contest. Final data package ready, sir, Una said. Send it. Everything we've learned. The last transmission shot out into the void. 80 months of boring duty had led to this one moment. Everything they had lived for, dying for, compressed into a data stream racing toward home. Commander, 3 ships have broken off from the main fleet, Una reported. They're heading toward us. Time to intercept? 15 minutes. Tay nodded. 15 minutes left to live. He thought about his wife back on Earth. He thought about the daughter he would never see graduate from university. He thought about all the small moments he would miss. But he also thought about the message racing through space. The warning that would save billions of lives. The data that would help the fleet prepare. 15 minutes of life in exchange for countless others seemed like a fair trade. I want everyone to know, Tay said to his crew, that it has been my honor to serve with you. We did our job. We did our duty. Because of what we did here today, humanity will have a chance. Remember that. Hold on to it. They stood together in silence. Tay looked at each face, memorizing them. These people had trusted him, followed him, believed in him. Now they would die with him. He wished he could give them more time, more life. But he could give them purpose, and sometimes that was enough. Sir, Una said softly. Thank you for making this count. Tay smiled at her. It always counted, Una. They just don't know it yet. The 3 hegemony ships appeared on visual range. They were sleek and deadly, built for killing. They did not bother with warnings or demands for surrender. They simply opened fire. The Vigilant's shields flashed bright and failed in seconds. The hull breached in a dozen places. Atmosphere vented into space. The lights went out. Commander Tay's last thought was of the message. Now 7 hours away from the Vigilance position, still racing toward home. They had bought 7 hours. 7 hours for humanity to prepare. It would have to be enough. The Vigilant exploded in a brief flash of light that nobody saw. The hegemony ships didn't even slow down. They rejoined their fleet and continued toward New Sol. But the warning was already gone, carrying the last gift of 12 people who died in the dark, so the billions might live in the light. Admiral Quan was reading morning reports when the priority alert came through his personal terminal. He set down his coffee and opened the message. It had taken 6 hours to reach Mars from the Vigilance position at the frontier. 6 hours during which the hegemony fleet had been driving deeper into human territory. He read Commander Tay's final transmission 3 times. 15,000 ships. An invasion fleet of unprecedented size. The hegemony was not testing defenses or making a show of force. They were coming to destroy humanity completely. Quan pulled up the current fleet positions. 4,000 Terran warships scattered across dozens of systems. Patrol duties, colony defense, trade route protection. The hegemony had timed this perfectly. They had waited until humanity was spread thin and divided. His fingers moved across the keyboard with practiced speed. He had prepared for this moment for 30 years. Hoped it would never come. Planned for it anyway. Now, all those years of preparation would be tested. "Get me every ship captain in the fleet," he told his aide. Priority channel. Within minutes, his screen filled with faces. Ship captains, station commanders, patrol leaders. All of them looking confused about why they were being pulled into an emergency conference. "I'm sending you new orders immediately," Quan said without preamble. "Aboard all current missions. Proceed to your designated rally points at maximum speed. No delays, no questions. Execute now." He could see the confusion spreading across their faces. These were combat veterans, people who had never run from a fight. Now he was ordering them to abandon their posts and flee. "Sir," one captain said, "the rally points take us away from the frontier, away from the colonies. If there's a threat, execute your orders, Captain," Quan interrupted. "That's all. Fleet command out." He closed the channel before anyone could argue. Let them think what they wanted. Let them believe the Terran fleet was running scared. It was all part of the plan. Captain Hana sat in her command chair aboard the destroyer, defiant, and read the orders that had just arrived. Retreat to rally point Theta. Maximum speed. No explanation given. "Ma'am, this doesn't make sense," her first officer said quietly. "Rally point Theta is in the opposite direction from the frontier. If there's an attack coming, I can read a star chart," Hana snapped. Then, more gently, "I don't like it either. But we have our orders." She had served 20 years in the Terran fleet. 20 years without ever retreating from a fight. The fleet stood its ground. The fleet protected the colonies. Running away felt wrong in every way that mattered. Hell, set course for rally point Theta. Maximum burn. The Defiant turned and accelerated away from the frontier. Away from the threat. Away from the colonies that needed protection. Hannah watched the long-range sensors as they fled. In the distance, she could see where the Vigilant had been. The station was gone now. Just debris and silence. Commander Tay and his crew had died sending a warning. And now humanity was running away from it. Hana clenched her fists and said nothing. Orders were orders, even when they felt like betrayal. Administrator Jin stood in the central plaza of New Sol Colony and watched the chaos spreading through the streets. The evacuation announcement had gone out an hour ago. 2 million people, 15 transport ships, 3 days until the enemy arrived. The math was simple and brutal. Each ship could carry 20,000 people if they packed them in tight. 300,000 total. That left 1,700,000 people with no way off the planet. Jin had spent an hour making the hardest decision of his life. Now he had to implement it. All children under 18 board first, he announced through the citywide speakers. Then young adults 18 to 30. We fill the ships by age, youngest first. No exceptions. The screaming started immediately. Parents demanding to go with their children. Elderly grandparents begging for their grandchildren to be saved. Families being torn apart by mathematics and time. Jin was 55 years old. Most of his staff was over 40. They all understood what the age-based system meant. They were sentencing themselves to death. "Sir, you should be on one of those ships," his deputy said. "You're the administrator. The colony needs its children to survive," Jin interrupted. "The colony needs young people who can rebuild somewhere else. What it doesn't need is old administrators taking up space." The first transport lifted off with its cargo of crying children and terrified teenagers. Jin watched it climb into the sky and disappear. 300 transports would follow over the next 3 days, each one carrying 20,000 futures away from New Soldon. By the third day, all the ships were gone. Jin stood in the empty plaza and looked at the silent streets. The colony felt like a ghost town now. Only the old and the unlucky remained. 1,700,000 people waiting for death. Dean walked back to his office and poured himself a drink. He had done what he could, saved who he could. Now there was nothing left but waiting. Across human space, the same scene repeated itself. Partial evacuations, abandoned outposts, civilian ships fleeing toward the core systems. The hegemony fleet advanced unopposed, meeting no resistance, finding empty worlds and scattered defenses. Their commanders reported back to the High Council with satisfaction. The humans were cowards. They were running without firing a shot. This would be easier than expected. The hegemony would expand into human territory, claim the colonies, and erase this weak species from the galaxy. Captain Hana brought the Defiant to Rally Point Theta exactly on time. She expected to find other ships waiting. Instead, her sensors showed empty space. "This is wrong," her tactical officer said. "The coordinates are correct, but there's nothing here." "Confirmed," Hana said. "But these are our orders. Hold position and wait." They drifted in empty space for 10 minutes. Then a tight beam transmission arrived, encrypted with codes Hana had never seen before. "New coordinates," she read aloud. "Proceed immediately. Maintain communication silence." The new coordinates led deeper into the solar system, toward the far side of Earth's moon. Hana had patrolled this region before. There was nothing there, just empty space and shadows. "Ma'am, should we follow these orders?" her first officer asked. "We don't know where they're coming from. They're using fleet command codes," Hana said. "We follow them." The Defiant moved forward into the dark. The crew was getting more confused by the minute. They were flying blind, following mysterious orders, while an invasion fleet was destroying human colonies. Then the sensors detected something. A shimmer in space, like heat waves rising from hot pavement. The Defiant crossed some invisible line, and suddenly the empty space ahead wasn't empty anymore. Hana's mouth fell open. Her entire bridge crew stared in shocked silence. A structure the size of a small moon materialized in front of them. A shipyard of incredible scale. Dry docks stretched for kilometers. Construction facilities glowed with activity. And everywhere, there were ships. Thousands of them. "What is this?" Someone whispered. Before anyone could answer, more structures appeared. Concealment fields dropped across the region, revealing shipyard after shipyard. Hana counted 10, 20, 30 massive facilities, all hidden behind Earth's moon. All building ships. All preparing for war. Other vessels were arriving too. Ships Hana recognized from the fleet. The cruiser Phoenix. The destroyer Pack Hunter. The battleship Indomitable. Every ship was converging here, to this secret place. Admiral Kwan's face appeared on every screen in every ship. Officers and crew of the Terran fleet, he began. What I'm about to tell you has been classified for 30 years. Hana leaned forward, her heart pounding. When we first encountered hostile aliens, we understood we were entering a dangerous galaxy. The hegemony was expanding, conquering independent worlds. We knew they would come for us eventually. So we made a choice. We would prepare in secret. The screen showed construction timelines, resource allocations, hidden facilities. The Terran fleet you serve in is real. 4,000 ships. But it's not the whole truth. It's the visible fraction. The decoy. For 30 years, we've been building a second fleet in secret. Hannah felt her breath catch in her throat. We let the hegemony think we were weak, Kwang continued. We showed them our small fleet, our simple weapons, our scattered colonies. We played the part of primitives. And while they watched our public face, we built something else in the shadows. More images appeared. Shipyards hidden in deep space, disguised as asteroids, concealed in nebulae. The retreat you're executing is not a retreat. It's the final stage of our preparation. We're drawing the hegemony deep into our territory, making them confident, making them careless. And then we're going to show them what humanity really built. Kwan's expression hardened. In 48 hours, the hegemony vanguard arrives at New Seoul. They expect a defenseless colony. Instead, they'll find us. All of us. And they'll learn that humanity doesn't run. We set traps. The transmission ended. Hana sat motionless, her mind racing. 30 years of planning. 30 years of secrets. And she had never suspected. Around her ship, engineers were already moving the Defiant into a refit dock. Within hours, her destroyer would be equipped with weapons she had never seen. Technology that officially didn't exist. Captain, her weapons officer called out. They're installing new systems. Myra had not seen real sunlight in 15 years. She lived deep inside Shipyard 7, a massive construction facility hidden in the asteroid belt. The facility was registered as a mining operation in public records. Its real purpose was building weapons that could win a war. She stood at the observation window watching the final ships prepare for launch. They were beautiful in a deadly way. Sleek hulls covered in angular armor. Weapon systems that pushed the boundaries of physics. Ships designed to do one thing perfectly: destroy anything that threatened humanity. Direct to Myra, all systems are ready for final launch, her assistant reported. Myra nodded. She was 41 years old. She had spent 15 years of her life in this hidden place, building these ships, developing these weapons. She had missed her sister's wedding, her father's funeral, her nephew's birth, all for this moment. Begin launch sequence, she ordered. The ships lifted from their docks smoothly. Their engines glowed blue-white as they formed into squadrons. Then their concealment fields activated, and they vanished from normal sensors. Invisible ghosts heading toward the gathering point. Mira pulled up her tablet and checked the master list. 37,000 warships built in secret over 3 decades. Combined with the 4,000 ships of the public fleet, humanity could field over 40,000 vessels. The hegemony thought they outnumbered humanity 3-1. They were wrong. Director, Admiral Kwan is requesting status on the special weapons. Myra smiled. The special weapons. That's what would really surprise the hegemony. She had spent years developing weapons based on principles the aliens had never encountered. The hegemony used energy shields and plasma weapons. Sophisticated technology refined over centuries, They were powerful and effective, but predictable. Humanity had weaponized physics itself. The quantum disruption cannons could break the molecular bonds holding matter together. Objects didn't explode. They simply ceased to be solid. The relativistic kill vehicles were chunks of dense metal accelerated to 99% of light speed. At that velocity, even a small mass carried devastating kinetic energy. The causality mines created time distortions that could age a ship's hull to dust in seconds. And the antimatter torpedoes were exactly what they sounded. Like, tell the Admiral all special weapons are operational, Mira said. She looked out at the empty construction. Docks where thousands of ships have been built. Her life's work was flying away to battle. She felt proud and terrified at the same time. These weapons would either save humanity or prove insufficient. There was no middle ground. Captain Hannah barely recognized her own ship after the refit. The Defiant had been in dock for 48 hours, while engineers tore out old systems and installed new ones. The transformation was complete now. Weapons status report, she ordered. Her weapons officer, a young man named Taewoo, read from his console. Quantum disruption cannons charged and ready. Relativistic launcher loaded with 6 kill vehicles. Antimatter torpedo tubes 1 through 4 armed and ready. Captain, the power readings on these systems are incredible. I know, Hannah said. This ship could take on a hegemony dreadnought now. Around the Defiant, the entire human fleet was gathering. Not 4,000 ships. All of them. Over 40,000 warships filling the space behind Earth's moon. The largest military force humanity had ever assembled. Admiral Kwan appeared on the main screen. He looked different now. Less like an administrator managing patrols and more like a warrior preparing for battle. All ships, this is Fleet Command. The Hegemony Vanguard is approaching New Seoul. 3,000 enemy vessels will arrive in 6 hours. They believe the colony is defenseless. They believe humanity has abandoned its people and fled. The tactical display showed the situation. New Seoul was a blue dot. The approaching enemy fleet was red. And from across human space, green dots were converging. The human fleet racing to spring the trap. We jumped to New Seoul in 5 hours, Kwan continued. We'll have 1 hour to set our positions. The enemy will arrive and see minimal resistance. A few civilian ships, nothing more. Then we drop our concealment fields and show them the truth. Hannah felt fierce satisfaction rising in her chest. In 6 hours, we go to war, Kwan said. And we show the hegemony what happens when you threaten humanity. All crews to battle stations. Fleet command out. The transmission ended. Hannah looked around her bridge. Her crew's faces showed determination mixed with fear. They had trained for this. They were ready. You heard the Admiral, Hannah said. Battle stations. Check every system twice. When we drop into New Seoul, we make history. Administrator Jin sat alone in his office on New Seoul. The colony was eerily quiet. Everyone who remained had gathered in their homes with their families, waiting for the end. Jin had made continuous broadcasts explaining the situation. The hegemony fleet was coming. No rescue was coming. They should prepare themselves. He looked at the photograph on his desk. His daughter at her university graduation, smiling and full of hope. She had escaped on one of the evacuation transports. She would live. That was enough. That made everything else bearable. Jin had made peace with death. 55 years was a decent run. He had helped build New Seoul from nothing into a thriving colony. He had seen his daughter grow up. He had done good work. Now it was time to rest. The sensors showed the hegemony fleet 6 hours away. Jin poured himself a glass of whiskey and watched the stars. He didn't know that 10,000 human warships were jumping into his system at that exact moment, arriving in the outer reaches, hiding behind New Seoul's moons. He didn't know his daughter was watching the tactical feed from her evacuation ship, crying and praying. He didn't know he was about to witness the most important battle in human history. He only knew he had done his duty. Saved who he could. Stayed to maintain order until the end. It was enough. Mira watched the fleet depart on her monitors in Shipyard 7. Thousands of ships, carrying weapons she had designed, heading to battle. She wanted to go with them, but her place was here. Engineers didn't fight wars. They built the tools and trusted others to use them. Director, we're receiving tactical data from the fleet. They're in position at New Seoul. Myra pulled up the display. The hegemony fleet was approaching, confident and unsuspecting. The human fleet waited behind the planet's moon in perfect silence. 10,000 ships running dark, invisible to enemy sensors, weapons charged. The trap was perfect. Captain Hannah felt a defiant drop from faster-than-light travel. The transition was smooth, practiced. They materialized in New Seoul system on the far side of the largest moon, completely hidden from the approaching enemy. All ships report in position, her tactical officer said. Enemy fleet arrives in 40 minutes. Hannah ordered final systems checks. The quantum disruption cannons had never been fired in combat. Neither had the relativistic weapons. All this technology was theoretical until now. They were about to learn if it worked. Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the planet. It's Administrator Jin. He's broadcasting. To the hegemony fleet. Let me hear it. Jin's voice filled the bridge. Calm, almost peaceful. To the hegemony fleet. Approaching New Seoul. This is Administrator Jin. I am the ranking official of this colony. We know you're coming to kill us. I want you to know we're not afraid. You can destroy our buildings, but you can't destroy what we built. You can kill us, but you can't kill our spirit. Humanity will remember New Seoul, and humanity will make you answer for this. The transmission ended. Hannah felt tears in her eyes. Jin thought he was recording his final words. He thought humanity had abandoned him. He didn't know that 10,000 warships waited just behind his moon, ready to spring the trap. 30 minutes to enemy arrival. Tactical announced. Hannah took a deep breath. Around her, 40,000 ships held position in perfect silence. Weapons charged. Crews ready. Waiting. Admiral Kwan's voice came through the command channel. All ships, prepare for combat. Wait for my signal. When the enemy is fully committed, when they think they've won, we drop concealment and hit them with everything. Remember your training. Remember your training. Remember what we're fighting for. The galaxy is watching. We're going to show them what humanity really is. The minutes crawled by. 20 minutes. 10. 5. Enemy fleet dropping from faster-than-light travel. Tactical reported. On Hannah's display, the hegemony ships materialized in normal space. 3,000 vessels, powerful and confident. They began scanning the planet, detecting millions of life signs still on the surface. They saw a few civilian ships, nothing more. An easy target. The hegemony commander must be celebrating, Hannah thought. A simple slaughter. An easy victory. He had no idea what waited for him. Enemy fleet moving into attack formation, Tactical said. They're advancing on the planet. Hannah gripped her command chair. Not yet. Wait. Let them get closer. Let them commit fully. The hegemony ships swept forward, ignoring the few human vessels they detected. They were focused on the planet, on the billions of people they thought were helpless. All enemy ships passed the orbital threshold, Tactical reported. They're committed. Admiral Kwan's voice cut through every speaker on every ship. All ships. Drop concealment fields. Open fire. Commander Vorath stood on the command deck of his flagship and watched New Seoul grow larger on the display. The quadruped alien felt deep satisfaction. 2 million humans lived on this colony, and they would all die today. It would be a glorious victory. Minimal defensive forces detected, Commander, his sensor operator reported. I count only 12 small vessels. They appear to be civilian ships attempting to flee. Vorath made a sound of pleasure. The humans had run away like cowards, abandoning their own people. This would be easier than predicted. The Hegemony High Council would be pleased with his quick victory. All ships advance to firing range, Vorath ordered. Prepare planetary bombardment. Leave nothing alive. The Hegemony fleet moved forward in perfect formation. 3,000 warships, each capable of destroying a city with single shots. Together they could sterilize an entire planet in hours. Vorath was already composing his victory report when the impossible happened. Space tore open on all sides. Not a few tears. Thousands. His display lit up with new contacts appearing faster than the computer could count them. Warp signatures bloomed across every sensor. What is this? Vorath demanded. Report. Unknown contacts, Commander. Thousands of them. They're appearing all around us. 10,000 human warships materialized from nothing, surrounding the Hegemony fleet completely. They had been hidden, concealed, waiting. Now they dropped their disguise all at once. Sir, massive energy signatures from the human fleet. Weapons charging. The rest of the sensor operator's words were lost in alarms. Every system screamed warnings as 10,000 human ships opened fire simultaneously. Captain Hannah felt the defiant shudder as the quantum disruption. Cannons fired. Twin beams of impossible energy shot from her ship, crossing the distance to a Hegemony battleship in microseconds. The effect was terrible and immediate. Where the beams touched the battleship's shields, molecular bonds simply stopped existing. The shields didn't fail. They dissolved. The beams punched through armor, through hull, through the ship's structure. The Hegemony vessel came apart like sand, its atoms losing cohesion, scattering into nothing. Direct hit. Her weapons officer shouted. Enemy battleship destroyed completely. Around the Defiant, the entire human fleet was firing. Space lit up brighter than a star. Quantum disruption beams, relativistic projectiles, antimatter torpedoes, and conventional weapons all firing at once. The Hegemony fleet, caught completely by surprise, began dying. A Hegemony dreadnought tried to return fire. Its plasma cannons charged and released bolts of superheated matter toward the human ships. The plasma hit the Defiant shields and scattered harmlessly. Human shields were designed specifically to counter plasma weapons. 30 years of research paying off. Fire relativistic launcher at that dreadnought, Hannah ordered. Her weapons officer triggered the weapon. A chunk of dense metal, accelerated to near light speed, shot from the Defiant. At that velocity, even a small mass carried devastating energy. The projectile hit the dreadnought dead center. The impact released energy equal to 100 nuclear bombs. The dreadnought vaporized instantly. The shock wave destroyed 2 nearby cruisers that had been flying too close. 3 enemy ships destroyed with 1 shot. Tactical reported. Hannah smiled fiercely. This was for Commander Tay, for the Vigilance crew, for everyone who thought humanity would die quietly. Engineering. Director Mira watched battle data flowing into Shipyard 7. Her screen showed the entire engagement from multiple angles. The human fleet was performing perfectly. Quantum disruption cannons achieved 97% hit rate. Relativistic weapons were unstoppable. Antimatter torpedoes produced explosions that rivaled small stars. The Hegemony was trying to adapt. She watched them reorganize formation, trying to concentrate fire on individual human ships. It wasn't working. Human ships were faster, more maneuverable, and their shields countered Hegemony weapons perfectly. Director, fleet reports minimal damage. 3 ships have taken hits, but all remain combat capable. Myra nodded. The hegemony had sophisticated weapons and centuries of tactical experience. But they had developed those things fighting enemies who used similar technology. Humanity brought something completely different. Raw physics applied with scientific precision. Where the hegemony tried finesse, humanity used overwhelming force. Commander Vorath watched his fleet die around him. In 10 minutes, he had lost 700 ships, 700 vessels destroyed or crippled, and the humans showed no signs of slowing. Return fire! All ships concentrate on the human flagship. His fleet tried to obey. Thousands of plasma cannons opened fire on the massive human battleship Indomitable. The ship was hit by enough firepower to destroy a small fleet. Its shields glowed white-hot, absorbing the energy. Then the Indomitable fired back. A single antimatter torpedo launched from the battleship. It crossed the distance in seconds. Vorath's flagship point defense systems tried shooting it down. Lasers, plasma, kinetic rounds. Nothing stopped it. The torpedo struck his flagship's bow and detonated. Matter met antimatter, and both ceased to exist, releasing pure energy. A tiny amount of matter converted completely to energy produced an explosion visible from the planet below. The flagship's forward section simply vanished. The rear section tumbled through space, venting atmosphere and crew. Vorath had just enough time to realize he had lost before his section lost life support and everything went dark. Administrator Jin stood at his window, watching the stars go to war. He could see flashes of weapons fire from the surface. Massive explosions bloomed in orbit like deadly fireworks. He had no idea what was happening, only that something impossible was taking place. His communicator chirped. A human military frequency. Administrator Jin, this is Captain Hana of the TFS Defiant. You are not alone. The Terran fleet is here. We're engaging hegemony forces. Stand by for evacuation procedures. Jin felt his legs give out. He sat down hard, staring at the communicator like it was a hallucination. This is Jin. Did you say evacuation? I thought we were abandoned. Negative, sir. The retreat was tactical. We drew the enemy in and now we're destroying them. You have civilians who need evacuation. Transport ships are incoming. Get your people ready. This battle will be over soon. Jin looked out the window again. The flashes were becoming less frequent. The battle was ending, and humanity had won. He started laughing. Tears ran down his face as he laughed, great gasping sounds of relief and joy. They hadn't been abandoned. The fleet hadn't run. It had all been part of the plan. Humanity had set a trap, and the hegemony walked right into it. Captain Hana checked her tactical display. The battle had raged for 30 minutes. The outcome was already clear. Of 3,000 hegemony ships, fewer than 400 remained combat capable. The rest were destroyed or drifting wrecks. The human fleet had lost 12 ships out of 10,000. Captain, remaining enemy vessels are attempting to retreat. Tactical reported. Admiral Kwan's voice came through on the command channel. All ships, let them go. I want survivors. I want them to carry word back to their High Council. Let them report what they saw here. Hana watched the battered remnants of the hegemony fleet jump to faster than light speed. They were running now, fleeing for their lives. The mighty hegemony fleet, defeated in less than an hour. Cease fire, Hana ordered. Stand down from battle stations. Damage report. Minor hits to port shields, Captain. Nothing serious. All systems operational. Hana leaned back in her chair and breathed out slowly. They had done it. Against a superior enemy that had been conquering the galaxy for centuries, humanity had won its first major battle. Communications. Connect me to New Soul Control. Find Administrator Jin. Jin's face appeared on screen. He looked like he had been crying. Captain Hana, Jin said, voice thick with emotion. I don't know what to say. We thought we were going to die. You thought we abandoned you, Hana finished. I'm sorry we had to deceive you, but it was necessary. I understand, Jin said. When can we begin evacuation? Transport ships arrive in 4 hours. But sir, this battle is just the beginning. The hegemony lost their vanguard, but they still have a massive fleet. This war is far from over. Jin nodded. Then we'll rebuild. We'll prepare. Next time they come, we'll be ready. Yes, sir. We will. Engineering Director Mira reviewed battle reports. Every weapon system had performed beyond expectations. Quantum disruption cannons exceeded projected effectiveness by 40%. Relativistic weapons achieved 100% hit rate. Antimatter torpedoes functioned perfectly with 0 premature detonations. 30 years of work. 15 years of her life in a hidden shipyard. All worth it. She composed a message to the fleet. To all ships and crews. You proved humanity's scientific approach to warfare works. You showed that preparation and patience can overcome numerical superiority. Most importantly, you sent a message to the galaxy. Humanity is not prey. We are predators. Well done. Myra sent the message and sat back. The war wasn't over. The hegemony would come again with better tactics. But now they knew the truth. The primitives they thought they could casually exterminate were actually the most dangerous species they had encountered. Let them come, Myra thought. We'll be ready. Admiral Kwan stood on the Indomitable's bridge watching the last enemy. The Hegemony High Council met in emergency session for the first time in 70 years. 6 species sat around the council table, each one accustomed to conquest and victory. They watched recordings brought back by surviving ships from New Sol. They watched in silence as the human fleet materialized from nothing. They watched their vanguard, 3,000 strong, get torn apart in 30 minutes. This is impossible, the Crithian representative said. Its multi-jointed limbs clicked in agitation. Humans are primitive. They barely left their home system. They should not have this technology. And yet they do, the Vaxian representative replied. The floating being pulsed with disturbed colors. The question is what we do about it. The council chamber fell silent. For centuries, the hegemony had expanded without serious opposition. Independent species either joined or were conquered. It was the natural order. The strong dominated the weak, but humanity was not weak. Humanity had deceived them. Pretended to be helpless while building a war machine in secret. The recordings showed weapons that violated every tactical assumption. Shields immune to plasma fire. Projectiles moving at light speed. Explosions rivaling stars. We have another problem, the Crithian said. The humans let survivors escape. Why? They could have destroyed the entire vanguard. The Vaxian understood immediately. They wanted us to see this. They wanted us to know what we face. It's a message. A warning, another council member added. The council leader, an ancient being called First Among Equals, finally spoke. Its voice was like grinding stone. We underestimated them. We assumed they were like other young species, scattered and weak. We were wrong. The question now is whether we can adapt faster than they can advance. The thought went unfinished, but every council member understood. If the hegemony could not defeat humanity, then for the first time in centuries, they would have to consider something unimaginable. Peace negotiations. 1 week after the Battle of New Sol, Fleet Admiral Kwan stood before the Terran Assembly on Earth. The government chamber was packed with representatives from every human colony. They had come to hear his report, to understand what happened, to learn the truth about the secret fleet. Kwan looked out at the assembled faces. Some angry, some relieved, some confused. He had kept the secret for 30 years. Lied to his own government. Hidden resources. diverted funding. All for this moment. Members of the Assembly, he began. I stand before you to report on New Sol and explain the decisions that led to that victory. He activated the display, showing tactical recordings of the battle. 30 years ago, when we first encountered hostile aliens, a small group of leaders made a decision. We knew humanity was entering a dangerous galaxy. We knew the hegemony was expanding and would eventually target us. We had two choices: prepare openly and provoke immediate attack, or prepare in secret and wait for the right moment. The display changed to show hidden shipyards, construction timelines, resource allocations. We chose deception. We built a public fleet that appeared small and primitive. We let the hegemony observe us, study us, dismiss us. Meanwhile, in secret facilities across the solar system, we built the real fleet. Over 40,000 warships using technology the hegemony had never seen. A representative stood, face red with anger. You lied to us. You diverted resources without authorization. You built a secret military without oversight. Yes, Quan said simply. I did all those things. And because I did, humanity survived. The hegemony came to exterminate us. They brought 15,000 ships. If we had only 4,000 vessels, we would have lost. Billions would have died. Human civilization would have ended. He let that sink in before continuing. Instead, we won. We defeated their vanguard with minimal casualties. We forced them to retreat. We sent a message that humanity will not be conquered easily. Was the deception worth it? I believe so. But that is for you to decide. The assembly erupted in debate. Some called for Quan's arrest. Others praised his foresight. The argument raged for hours. In the end, they voted. Not to punish Quan, but to continue his strategy. The war was not over. The secret preparations would go on, now with full governmental support. Humanity had shown its teeth. Now it needed to sharpen them further. Captain Hana brought the Defiant back to New Sol system. This time, she was not coming to fight. She was escorting transports full of returning colonists. The evacuation had worked both ways. People taken away were coming home. She watched from the bridge as transports descended to the planet. Among the passengers was Administrator Jin's daughter, the teacher who had left on the first evacuation ship. She would be reunited with her father, who had stayed behind, expecting to die. Captain, we're receiving a message from the surface. It's Administrator Jin. He wants to speak with you. Jin's face appeared on screen. He looked different than a week ago. Younger somehow, despite the gray in his hair. Hope did that to people. Captain Hana, Jin said with a smile. I wanted to thank you. Not just for saving the colony, but for what you did before the battle. When I broadcast that message to the hegemony, I thought I was preparing to die. But knowing someone would remember, that humanity would answer for what happened here, it gave me peace. Hana nodded. We heard your message, sir. It was broadcast across the entire fleet. Your courage inspired many people. I wasn't being brave, Jin said quietly. I was just doing my job. Same as you. Same as all of us, Hana agreed. That's what makes us human. We do our jobs even when it's hard, even when it seems hopeless. Jin's daughter appeared on screen beside him, tears running down her face. She waved at Hana, unable to speak. Hana waved back. Take care of each other, Hana said, and rebuild. Make New Sol stronger than before. Because the hegemony will come again, and next time we need to be ready. We will be. Jin promised. Engineering Director Myra finally left Shipyard 7 after 15 years. She took a transport back to Earth, back to natural sunlight and open skies. It felt strange at first, almost overwhelming after so long in artificial environments. But she was not going home to rest. She was going to the Terran Institute of Technology to begin the next phase of research. The weapons that won at New Sol were impressive, but could be improved. The hegemony would adapt eventually. Humanity needed to stay ahead. On the transport, she reviewed intelligence reports. The hegemony was pulling back, consolidating forces. They were scared but not defeated. The main fleet was still out there, still dangerous. Myra began sketching new weapon concepts on her tablet. Phase cannons that could bypass shields entirely. Gravity manipulators that could crush ships. Self-replicating nanobots that could eat through hull plating. The war was far from over. But humanity had proven it could win. Now they just needed to keep winning. In deep space, at the location where the Vigilant had once orbited, a memorial beacon floated in darkness. It broadcast continuously on all frequencies, a message in 100 languages. Here died Commander Tay and the crew of the CS Vigilant. They gave their lives to warn humanity. Because of their sacrifice, billions live. They will not be forgotten. Sensor operator Una had survived the Vigilant's destruction. She had been on a supply run when the hegemony attacked. Now, 1 week later, she had been promoted and assigned to a new monitoring station on the frontier. She sat at her console, watching sensors just like before. But everything was different now. The Terran fleet was no longer hiding. Human warships patrolled openly, weapons charged, ready for any threat. Una thought about Commander Tay often. He had taught her to stay alert, to never assume the quiet would last. He had died believing he was buying time for a desperate retreat. He never knew his warning had helped spring the greatest trap in human history. Anything on sensors, Operator Una? Her new commander asked. Una checked her displays. Empty space. No threats. No warp signatures blooming. Nothing, sir. All clear. Stay sharp anyway. The hegemony is out there, recovering. They'll come back eventually. I know, sir. I'll be ready. Una settled into her chair and watched the stars. Somewhere the hegemony was planning their next move. Adapting, learning, preparing, but so was humanity. And humanity had learned the most important lesson. The galaxy was full of predators, but humans could be apex predators if they were willing to do whatever it took to survive. 3 weeks after New Sol, a hegemony diplomatic ship approached human space under a flag of truce. It carried an envoy from the High Council requesting negotiations. Admiral Quan received the envoy aboard the Indomitable. The alien was a Vaxian, the jellyfish-like being that pulsed with bioluminescent colors. It floated into the conference room, its translator converting chemical signals to human speech. Admiral Quan, the Vaxian said, I bring greetings from the Gemini High Council. They wish to discuss terms. Terms of surrender? Quan asked. The Vaxian's colors shifted to angry red. Certainly not. The hegemony does not surrender. We wish to discuss cessation of hostilities, recognition of borders, perhaps even cooperation. Quan leaned back. The hegemony brought 15,000 ships to exterminate humanity. Now you want cooperation? We underestimated you, the Vaxian admitted. Its colors shifted to blue, indicating regret. We thought you were weak. We were wrong. You are strong. The hegemony respects strength. Perhaps we can coexist.